everyone, and welcome to Action in the Global Wrestling Federation. I'm Craig Johnson along with Scott Hudson. And on today's show, we will have an interesting situation between Tug Taylor and Black Bart. As a matter of fact, Black Bart demanding the matches. Ron Ames is telling the fans here in the Global Dome after a blow-up that happened between these two men in a tag team match for the title.
That's exactly right. They were wrestling Chris Walker and Steve Simpson, were Tug Taylor and Black Bart. Tug Taylor was pinned by Chris Walker. Somehow he found a way to blame Black Bart for the loss here. I don't know what happened, but regardless, these two men had a major league explosion in the ring. Two former partners, now deadly enemies, and we're going to see it come to a fruition here today.
We'll see Private Terry Daniels in action. Also, primetime Brian Lee, who went to a 10-minute time limit draw with the Soul Taker. And some action that you will see as we will recap the television title tournament won by Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. In our main event, it will be the team of Gorgeous Gary Young, the Rattlesnake, and Wild Bill Irwin to go against the Coast to Coast Connection, Sweet Daddy Falcone, Hollywood John Tatum, and the California Stud, Rugged Rod Price.
Some injuries going to have to heal very quickly for that match to take place, Greg. It should be a barn burner.
We're getting ready for action. When we return, we will have the tag team champions, Walker and Simpson against the Dogs of War. Get ready. Action starts next.
At 485 pounds, Chris Walker and Steve Simpson.
Conan Chris Walker, Steve Simpson, the GWF Tag Team titleists. And joining us for commentary, the Palm Beach heartthrob, the upset Scott Anthony.
Why am I upset?
Well, I think you would, first of all, you thought you were a shoo-in to be in the television title tournament.
Now I'm upset
Second of
about
all,
that.
the handsome stranger came very, very close to winning.
But, here's the big point. Because of me, he did not win, so I'm very happy. I caused him to lose the television tournament, and so, frankly, I'm ecstatic. I'm ecstatic. Hey, look at this. We got a heck of a match here. We got the Dogs of War versus the Hair Extension Gang.
The who?
The Hair Extension Gang. Simpson and Walker. You can tell they're hair extensions. Look, they ain't got long hair. They got hair extensions. Fake blue contacts, hair extensions, ugly faces. Bunch of goofballs, they ask me.
But you forgot one very important thing they have, Scott Anthony. They have the Global Wrestling Federation Tag Team titles.
Yeah, that's pretty prestigious. I admit that. But nowhere near, nice arm drag, but nowhere near as prestigious as my boy, the Lightning Kid, light heavyweight title. Now that's a prestigious belt. Tag team takes two of them. You know, I'm into the singles thing. I'm my own man, do my own thing. So, you know, I'm not so enamored of that.
Fans still filing into the Global Dome for this event. As the cross-body block by Steve Simpson, count of two, as Butch, or Mike, depending upon which day of the week it is.
Is that Butch and Luke?
No, Blackheart now gets the elbow.
Conan Chris Walker. What an egotistical name, calling himself Conan. He looks nothing like Conan.
Nice fireman's carry there.
You know, see, look, that is why he wears his hair hanging down in his face so nobody can see what ugly mug he's got. Many people don't.
Are you talking about Buster Blackheart, the Dog of War?
I thought it was Butch.
No, the one that we
Buster
saw.
Mike Luke. Who are we talking about, and what the heck is going on here? And who's that idiot referee? He's a buffoon.
Already with the referee lines. He hasn't done a thing.
Well, how about we talk about your lack of hair, Hudson?
Talk about the referee.
Okay. Big backdrop. Now, these Dogs of War are not doing much today. I don't think they had enough elbow or something.
Well, going to work, Conan Chris Walker on the arm of Butch Blackheart.
You know,
his real name is Mike. His nickname is Butch, I've
and the
been
other
told.
guy's name is what?
Buster.
But his real name is Luke. Anyway, like I said, these Dogs of War, they're pretty tough. Sometimes they're on, sometimes they're off. Wrestling's a tricky sport. Some days you just got it together, and some days you don't. And apparently right now, the Dogs of War do not have it together.
Well, what kind of a day were you having in the finals of the tag team tournament when you and Hustler Rip Rogers took on these two men?
Hey, man, we would have won that tournament, they wouldn't have cheated. And then I would have been the tag team champion. Like I told you, I ain't even worried about that. I was supposed to be in the TV tournament. Max said I could be in the TV tournament. Max Andrews, interim commissioner, said I could be in the TV tournament. I was not, but I made sure the stranger didn't win. He didn't win. I made him lose. Na, 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 na,
Tag
na.
to Conan Chris
Get him
Walker.
to stand in the corner.
That's me in the corner.
This is not America's Top 10, not even American Bandstand, nor Lawrence Welk, if I check my TV listings.
Although Hudson's old enough to listen to Lawrence Welk.
Here's the
Working on the shoulder. That's the shoulder region, also known as the deltoid brain surgeon.
fireman's carry once again takes...
Now let me ask you a question. If you were a fireman, would you dump somebody over your shoulder like that? You would carry them. You wouldn't just dump them over your shoulder. How very unfiremanlike.
It's an amateur wrestling move that has had its name for years.
How do you know? What are you, a dictionary? What are you, Encyclopedia Brown? Boy detective? Good, now the dogs of war are getting it together. Get them, boys, get them.
That's Buster Blackheart in there with Conan and Chris Walker. Craig Johnson, Scott Hudson, and the ubiquitous Scott Anthony here at ringside.
Ubiquitous, you don't even know what that word means. Do you, Mr. Funny Man?
I looked it up.
Joke Man. A stomp to the face.
And it seems like the Dogs of War are trying to pull the upset here.
You know, I don't see why you guys insist on calling them the Dogs of War. I think we should call them the Dogs of Peace. They're very nice fellows. A little unsanitary, but very nice nevertheless.
Well, it says Dog of War on the left arm of Buster Blackheart.
Well, then let's go ahead and call him that. Good. Look at her beating up old Chris Walker.
These two tough men from Hell's Kitchen, New York.
Is this a tag team title match? Or is this a non-title defense?
I've been told it's a non-title match. It was not announced as a tag team title match. But if it was, both Dogs of War down to the mat.
What a move.
Body slam. Steve Simpson with the spinning crossbody. Count out 3.
Who cares? Chris Walker and Steve Simpson. The hair extension boys.
When we return without Scott Anthony, primetime Brian Lee makes his way to the ring. But making their way away, the tag team champions.
From Orlando, Florida, Brian Lee.
The man known as Primetime, Brian Lee out of Orlando, Florida, 280 pounds. A very tough guy.
Brian Lee, former tag team champion with Don the Stomper Harris. What a potent combination they made.
Primetime Brian Lee, a relatively new face in the Global Wrestling Federation, and your first source of the new GWF signings is the GWF Wrestling Hotline. That's where you will hear about all the new names coming to the GWF very soon. All on the GWF Wrestling Hotline. Primetime going against Big Mike Stetson.
Brian Lee reminds me a lot of a young, well, he's still a young man, but a 4 or 5 year removed Barry Windham. About the same build, same height, and progressing at about the same rate in their career, I think. So Brian Lee, certainly, there are worse people to be compared to than Barry Windham. And Brian Lee compares favorably to that WCW superstar.
Following this match, we'll go to Bonnie Blackstone with the fans' question. Still to come, Terry Daniels in action. We'll take a look back at the television title tournament. That grudge match between Black Bart and Tug Taylor. And our big 6-man action, all still to come. Stetson with a flying elbow. Didn't fit that opportunity there. Prime time. Drop kick, very effective. And now into the side headlock. Primetime Brian Lee, who really doesn't care who he wrestles as long as it's tough competition. Think about some of the men he's faced since coming to the GWF, the Soul Taker in that 10-minute time limit draw in the television title tournament. Makes you think that he's a pretty tough man.
10 brutal minutes with the Soul Taker will take it out of you, but Brian Lee really held his own in there with the big man from Vegas in that tournament.
Stetson having his problems with the man from Orlando, Florida. Side headlock. It's prime time. In control here. Series of rights by Mike Stetson. Stetson building momentum. Well, Stetson went down for a backdrop. Brian Lee just kind of leaned on him. Took his head down in a somewhat soft DDT, but nothing soft about that power slam. Prime time, Brian Lee. Up to the second rope. Hey, it's the top rope. And down, right across the chest. Great finds the leg. He counts it for you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match is Brian Lee.
Prime time, Brian Lee, the winner in this event. Now let's go to Bonnie Blackstone. She's standing by with one of our great fans here in the GWF.
Talking to some of our fans here in the Global Dome, Bonnie Blackstone back with you once again. This is John. We've seen some exciting matchups on this edition. John, you've been watching Brian Lee, and I know that you had a very exciting question to ask Brian.
Why did he come to the Global Wrestling Federation?
Well, that's a good question. You know, Brian has been seen in many different regions wrestling, and later on in this edition, I'm going to be with Brian Lee, and I'm going to ask John's question and find out exactly what it is he hopes to gain by coming here and competing within the ranks of the GWF.
Of his teammates on the Colt semi-pro football team that is based in North Texas. There you see a couple of his teammates. Not regulation wrestling gear there.
No, not at all.
Tonight's my night.
Speaking of the helmet. The lockup as Private Terry Daniels backs up the man known as Psychotic Ed Robinson.
With the right outfit, this man could fit right into the Dogs of War, don't you think?
That's a possibility I haven't thought of. Terry Daniels, the subject of a feature in Match Day, the program of the Global Wrestling Federation recently. And Ed Robinson perplexed. Hip toss. And Terry Daniels, the smaller of the two competitors, now looks to be the perplexed one.
Terry Daniels is not one of the biggest wrestlers in the Global Wrestling Federation, but you can't count heart when you talk about physical stature, and Terry Daniels' heart is as big, if not bigger, than anyone else in the Global Wrestling Federation.
Matter of fact, part of that article mentioned about the fact that many times he brings a folded flag to the ring in tribute of the men and women who have served in this nation's armed forces. I wonder what position those two guys play. Step over by Daniels and reversal. Hip toss, arm drag, arm lock. Daniels in control.
Something tells me it would be on the offensive or defensive line as opposed to one of those speedy cornerbacks or wideouts, guys that size.
Step over by Daniels 2 times. And the reversal. Takes him over again. Back into the armbar. and known at times to even play on that offensive line when it's a passing situation. They make him the famous tackle eligible.
Oh.
And he'll go out for a pass every now and then. Right now trying to figure out what offensive measures to use against Ed Robinson. I don't think there's any playbook in wrestling you can refer to.
And he didn't get that name, the psychotic Ed Robinson, just because he liked to play with dolls when he was a kid or anything like that. And that would probably be one of the reasons he got a name that way.
DDT by Ed Robinson. Now using the top rope to cut off the wind as the teammates of Terry Daniels a little upset.
Here's more of the psychotic nature of psychotic Ed. Really brutal tactics in there against the private Terry Daniels.
Rake of the face. Daniels blinded for a moment there. And oh, well, if the rake of the eyes didn't blind him, that elbow right to the bridge of the nose mayhap. Snapmare. And now into the rear chinlock. Not quite a sleeper. Fans picking up the chant of Terry.
I think they're the two leaders of the chant, as it were. I'd do whatever they wanted.
Duck under by Daniels. Cross body block. 1, 2. Rick Manning with a count there. Robinson with a series of lefts. Irish whip, clothesline. Daniels may have had a lot of the fight knocked out of him by Ed Robinson. Reversal there. Backdrop, and Robinson feeling the effects there. Kick to the midsection. Reversal by Robinson, and look who's there! Daniels with a clothesline.
Caught him right across the chest. Certainly the place you want to go if you want to knock him down. You may not hurt him as much as if you caught him in the throat, but you knock him down when you catch him in the chest.
Robinson going for the backside. Neckbreaker delivered by Daniel.
Beautiful counter move.
Count of 1, count of 2, count of 3. Terry Daniels picking up the win, and the teammates are very happy about that.
Introducing Hot Stuff, Eddie Gilbert.
I don't know if you could select a favorite for this match, but maybe Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert with his long storied career.
Why don't you ask Scott Anthony in the Palm Beach Heartthrob who he thinks is going to win this match?
Okay, who do you think is going to win this match?
Eddie Gilbert.
Well, that's a surprise.
Well, getting ready to make his way into the ring for this, the championship match, the man from Monte Carlo, the French Riviera.
At a weight of 237 pounds, from Monte Carlo, introducing the Handsome Stranger.
The Handsome Stranger now appearing weekly on the GWF Wrestling Hotline with some absolutely fantastic words for the ladies.
Yeah, he's more like the foolish stranger. He never should have came back to wrestling. I humiliated him. I embarrassed him. I ran him out of the sport. I gave him a chance to bow out gracefully after I humiliated him a few weeks ago.
Just because he's getting more phone calls than you are on Friday nights?
No, he's not getting more phone calls. No one gets more phone calls than me. I am the most popular wrestler. I am the franchise of the Global Wrestling Federation. Anyway, like I was saying, this man's a fool. Look at that ugly lady he's hugging. She's ugly. Anyway, the man's a fool. I gave him a chance to bow out gracefully. Well, I humiliated him. I embarrassed him. He disappeared. Apparently, for some reason, he decided he wanted to be in his TV title tournament. I got robbed. Max said I could be in the tournament. I should be in this tournament. Max said I could.
Interim Commissioner Max Andrews, I guess, is who he's talking about.
Hey, were you there at the opening of the show? You heard Max. He said I could. Look at that buffoon.
Well, it's the Handsome Stranger going for the television title against Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Let's find out what Bonnie and the fans have to say. Bonnie?
As you can see, guys, I've moved down to the front row with Pamela, Courtney, and friends. What do you think about this tournament?
I have enjoyed every single bell.
All right, we're going to go now back to the final two.
The lockup. Thank you, Bonnie. Always interesting comments from the fans.
Hey, that Blackstone chick, she wants me, man. You could tell. She wants me.
Right.
Hey, just Nat Hudson, because you can't get no women because you got no hair. Well, here, a little locking up type deal here. Eddie Gilbert, couple fingers out, trying to outstretch. Tying up. Nope, stranger to chicken. See, he's a chicken, backed off.
You have to think of some of the people that had their names put in the hopper for this tournament who didn't make it. Men like Jeff Gaylord, Terry Gordy, Wild Bill Irwin. Cactus Jack even, I understand, had his name entered in the hopper, but...
Did you see that? A 2 count and a pair of tights pulled. If Eddie Gilbert wasn't the consummate veteran that he is, he never would have kicked out of that tight pulling 2 count.
But the point I'd like to make, no members of the cartel in this tournament.
Yeah, Max said I could be in it. You were there at the top of the show.
There you go again with that.
Well, Eddie Gilbert, maybe a little bit, a look of concern as he locks up with a handsome stranger who moves it into the side headlock. Back to the ropes they go. Pushes him into the rope, and the handsome stranger locks it. 1-2. Very close to becoming the new global television champion.
And I got to at least admire his strategy. The man's smart. He's going right after the title. He's trying to get a quick pinfall, but it ain't going to happen. Eddie Gilbert's too tough, he's too smart, and the stranger's too much of a fool. If he wasn't that dumb, he never would. If the stranger had half a brain, he wouldn't have come back to the sport after I humiliated him. He knows what's in store for him. I'm just going to humiliate and embarrass him worse.
I don't know how much worse it could possibly get.
We should show that tape again. In fact, we should show that tape of me jumping out of the audience, beating the snot out of him every couple days. But can I say that word? We should show that tape, though. We should show it much more often than we do. Uh-oh, we'll push him, man.
And look who got the best of that one, the handsome stranger.
There's a look on Eddie Gilbert's face that says he has underestimated the handsome stranger, Craig. If memory serves, this would be the first match ever between the handsome stranger and Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert. Eddie Gilbert, I don't know how much he knows about the handsome stranger, but the handsome stranger certainly has done his homework, and he does know Eddie Gilbert.
Wait a minute, you see that? Gilbert went to throw a punch, and the ref hooked his arm, and the stranger punched him back.
Senior referee James Beard catching Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert ready to throw the punch.
What kind of deal is that? What a biased referee.
It's an official who is preventing a blatant violation of the rules by Eddie Gilbert.
What are you, Mr. Encyclopedia? Listen, Hudson Hummingbird, you and Homeboy Johnson, you let me run the show up here from the booth.
Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert, who defeated John Tatum in round number 1. The handsome stranger defeated Mike Davis.
Eddie Gilbert versus John Tatum. That was an interesting match. I'm surprised Jason Hervey was nowhere in sight.
They get ready to lock up, maybe a test of strength. No, Gilbert.
Ooh, a beautiful chain piece of wrestling there by Mr. Eddie Gilbert, Hot Stuff himself.
Into the hammerlock reversal by the handsome stranger.
Yeah, but it wasn't very pretty. He's not as fluid. He's not as graceful.
A lot of fans, the women especially, wondering who the handsome stranger is.
He's some garbage man from Jersey. That's why he wears the mask. That little scar over his eyebrow. That's why he wears that mask, cover that hideous scarf when he was a garbage man.
Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert almost looked like he was pouting, and I think the handsome stranger thinks he was crying.
That's another common interest I think Eddie Gilbert and John Tatum have in common.
What's that?
But they cry a lot in the ring.
Hey, look, he's crying too.
I don't think so.
What do you think he is anyway? The FTD florist handing out flowers and roses? They get a couple of wings on his head. Get some wings on his head and a gold suit with a funny hat.
At least the things he delivers, the ladies appreciate.
Ooh. Johnson, I'm going to get you later. The things I would say to you would degrade you so badly on television, you'd never be able to commentate in this town again. Good, a punch to the belly. Or to the leg. Quit blocking my view of the monitor so I can see what the heck is going on here.
Now
taking the knee out, taking the pins out.
Eddie Gilbert has been known to lock on the figure 4 at times to put his opponent away, and that may be what he's going for here. Spinning toe hold into the figure 4. Eddie Gilbert going after the global television title, has the figure 4 locked in here, and the handsome stranger is in trouble.
I think I'm going to go down and cheer my boy Eddie on, man. That's what he needs it. And maybe I'll just taunt the stranger as the television title slips out of his grasp.
Good, go. Have a good time, Scott. Thanks for coming.
Well, be careful telling him to have a good time, because a good time to him is making the stranger's day miserable. Reversal by the handsome stranger on the figure 4 as Scott Anthony makes his way down to ringside. Gilbert makes his way to the ropes to break this painful hold.
I am very worried about Scott Anthony being at ringside. That man can't be trusted, quite frankly.
The collision as both men go down. Look, Anthony pushes. It's count of 1, count of 2. Almost the count of 3. The stranger was almost the new champion. Now the handsome stranger with the Irish whip into the corner. Gilbert colliding with the official. The stranger up to the middle rope. He comes down, but nobody's home. Eddie Gilbert. You remember this is the same object he had against Sean Tatum. Atomic drop. The foreign object flies. Count of 1, 2, 3, 4. The stranger waylaid from behind. Eddie Gilbert picks him up for a pile driver. Sends him down. Hot stuff.
What is Anthony doing?
He's putting the foreign object on the stranger's hand.
What in the world?
What's going on here?
Look at... Oh, no.
Gilbert was...
No. Gilbert is acting like the handsome stranger has slugged him with the foreign object, and he did no such thing. Oh, no.
Well, Gilbert getting up to make a... He ran into the official on purpose.
Oh, please.
The handsome stranger dazed. He goes to pick up hot stuff Eddie Gilbert. And James Beard has found the foreign object.
Oh, no.
The fans know that nothing happened. Eddie Gilbert claiming that something happened. If Gilbert was hit by a foreign object, what is he setting up for?
And Anthony explaining to the official how the handsome stranger slugged Eddie Gilbert with the foreign object when nothing of the sort happened.
Well, the belt's coming in. He's going to disqualify the stranger.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has determined that by disqualification, the new GWF TV title champion is Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
Oh, this is a travesty here, fans. Craig Johnson will be back to talk with the new Global Wrestling Federation television champion, Eddie Gilbert, right after this.
Fans, I am standing here with the new GWF television champion, Hot Stuff Eddie Gilbert.
It's the champ. It's the champ. Tell him, champ. I don't know where to begin. There's so many people and things that got me here.
Why don't you begin?
My mom and dad for having me, and what a glorious day. Tom Glavine just pitched the first winning 20 games and won National League in history, and me now I'm the...
What I want to ask you is the stranger did not hit...
I understand that you're excited like I am, but, you know, I do want to thank my mom and my dad and everybody. What a wonderful day.
How's his eye?
How's his eye? It hurts bad. I need to go to the doctor right now.
the other side.
Well, I can't remember right now. I think I might have a concussion.
What?
Hard in the eye.
Hold on. I can't remember. What? Joe Pedicino, the boss. Joe?
I was in the back taping interviews for the 900 line, and I overheard an argument I was not supposed to overhear, and this will be a big interest to you, Scott Anthony. I have a tape of Scott Anthony arguing with the boss, and I know who the boss is.
Getting some answers to our fans' questions here in the Global Dome, Bonnie Blackstone and Brian Lee. All right, our fans have been asking, what do you expect here coming to the Global Wrestling Federation, Brian?
Well, Bonnie, as you well know, Global Federation is top talent and top competitors, and that's what Primetime Brian Lee thrives on, is competition. I'm here to stay. I'm here to win some titles, and whoever's in the ring with me, I expect them to go down 1, 2, 3. Recently,
in this television tournament situation, you took on the Soul Taker. You took him to the limit. Do you want to see the Soul Taker again in the squared circle?
Definitely. I want to see the Soul Taker. It doesn't matter where I see him. The way he fights, you know, in the past, I've been known to break a few rules, and I'm trying to go down the straight and narrow path now. And if I face Soul Taker again, I know what terms we'll be on, and he's going to have to face my terms as well.
What about the fans here in the Global Dome? They really have received you well. You got a lot of ladies out here, and guys, too, that idolize you.
The fans are great. This area is great. I like being here. And you can't, you know, a lot of people don't know it, but the fans are the biggest thing of wrestling.
All right, you can see why they call this guy Prime Time Brian Lee.
From Clinton, Iowa, the original tugboat, Tugboat Taylor.
Tug Taylor, who turned on his partner in a tag team match, and here comes his old partner.
Weighing in at 300 pounds, from Pecos, Texas, Black Bart.
As Black Bart would say, he doesn't care what dadgum person he has to take on.
Oh, boy. This is going to be a brawl that probably won't contain itself within the ring ropes.
Well, these two men collide right off the bat. Tug Taylor, a regional champion in South Texas, but take a look at the credentials of Black Bart. Began his career back in Florida, where he held a tag team title with Ron Bass. Before leaving Florida, handily defeated Dustin Rhodes for the Florida Championship. Moved on to the Mid-Atlantic area, where he held both the Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight title and the Mid-Atlantic Tag Team title. Was the NWA National titleist, defeating Ron Garvin, and then beat Chris Adams for the world-class World Heavyweight title. And right now, he's going to work on Tug Taylor.
Impressive credentials for Black Bart. Certainly no Johnny-come-lately to the... That'll win you many championships, but it will probably win you this match.
And on to the interview stage here at the Global Dome go these two men, and out!
And you heard the thud on the Global Dome stage when Tug Taylor just chunked that bell over there. That's exactly what hit Black Bart in the head. That would lay me out for weeks.
Black Bart pulling Tug Taylor out of the ring. These two men going out, just like you said. This ring would not be big enough to hold those men, as Bart thrown into the ropes by Tug Taylor. The old comments about the ring being reinforced for various matches. This is one of those matches. You hope that's the case.
The Global Dome ring is not your standard wrestling ring. It is reinforced all the time, but I'm not even sure it's enough to hold these two behemoths in there. Neither one of these men a threat to the Lightning Kid's light heavyweight title. Just thought I'd throw that in.
That's it. Throwing down Black Bart is Tug Taylor. Taylor going up to the middle rope, now to the top rope, comes down! I think that answers the question about the ring being reinforced. Black Bart now going to work, seeking a little revenge on Tug Taylor in that match against the tag team champions. These two men unsuccessful. Tug Taylor, the man who lost the fall, and all of a sudden Taylor attacked Black Bart for no apparent reason.
I could not understand that situation, as Tug Taylor was the one who was high cross-bodied by Chris Walker and who had his shoulders to the canvas for the 1, 2, 3, and yet he found something wrong with what Black Bart had done in the match. I have no idea what.
Black Bart, count of 1, count of 2. Taylor getting some extra leverage with his feet on the rope, and I think he thinks he's won this. Double axe handle to the back of the head. Black Bart taking advantage of the diversion. Head into the top turnbuckle. The whip reversal by Taylor. Taylor charges right into the boot of Black Bart. Grapevines the leg. And Black Bart uses the rope but gets the win.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match is Black Bart.
Black Bart with the win on this edition of the GWF.
Introducing Wild Bill Irwin, Rattlesnake, and gorgeous Gary Young.
Watch out when Wild Bill hits the ring with that whip. Rattlesnake, oh my, watch out, ring it out to Ron Ames. It's hard to tell if Ron Ames and Wild Bill are friends. Sometimes the way he flails that whip around. We're getting ready to see Rod Price, Hollywood John Tatum,
their competition
and
for
Sweet
this
Daddy
event
Falcone, the
at a total
coast-to-coast
weight
connection.
of 809 pounds.
There you see.
Introducing Hollywood John Tatum, Butch Blackheart, and Sweet Daddy Falcone.
Butch Blackheart? Butch Black? No, Rod Price. Oh, well. As I take a look down there, Rod Price has made his way to ringside, but on a crutch.
We know that the California stud Rod Price had that knee injured. And I was wondering, we mentioned at the top of the show, Craig, would Rod Price or Gary Young, both of whom had suffered serious knee injuries, be ready to go?
There.
Apparently Gary Young is ready, and there you see in the pink shirt with the ponytail, as it were, the California stud Rod Price. Oh boy.
Sweet Daddy Falcone.
Okay, take a look. Look at this. What?
Well, apparently he says he's going to pay him money to wrestle in the place of the California stud. As you see the rattlesnake, part of the garb of the rattlesnake.
So Skandor Akbar has paid one of the dogs of war to take Rod Price's place. Is that what I'm to take from this?
Well, I suppose so. Rod Price standing at ringside. I don't know if one of our GWF cameramen could get a shot of it, but Rod Price hobbling around ringside, holding on to the crutch.
Rod Price's injury must be very serious. There you see a look at the California stud. Not able to participate in this match, and Skandor Akbar has paid one of the dogs of war to come into this match to replace the California stud.
And you'll remember it was Skandor Akbar and Hollywood John Tatum that blamed Gary Young for that particular injury. Although, to my knowledge, Gary Young had nothing to do with it. Butch Blackheart, the first member of the Coast to Coast Connection +1, sent into the ring to go against Wild Bill Irwin in a new red modern outfit.
That's a different look for Wild Bill.
Nice arm drag by gorgeous Gary Young as Butch Blackheart hits the canvas hard.
And you see John Tatum attempting to come in, interject himself into the proceedings. Will not be allowed. As Gary Young, good to see Gary Young back, as the knee injury that Gary Young suffered was thought to be quite serious when it happened.
Gary Young picks Blackheart and sends him down. Arm drag as Gary Young goes back to work. This feud has been brewing for quite a while. You can keep up to date on this feud as well as some interesting situations in the WWF and WCW, plus all the independents every day on the GWF Wrestling Hotline. Rattlesnake in there now. Elbow to the back of Butch Blackheart. We've already seen once on this edition of the GWF. Well, obviously the money's got to be good from Mr. Akbar.
Double duty for Butch Blackheart. As I don't know that right now that money looks so good as the Rattlesnake really handing it to him.
Tag in to the partner from the Old West. Wild Bill Irwin. Blackheart gets the boot up. Akbar looking concerned, but maybe a little bit less concerned as John Tatum makes his way in. Sweet Daddy in. And the coast-to-coast connection. In control as Gary Young stares down. A man who was, at one time, a very good friend of his.
The situation that goes so far back between Gary Young and Skandor Akbar. I don't think those two men will ever get along again. Take a look at this.
Rod Price hands the crutch up to Hollywood John Tatum.
Oh.
And it's effective as Wild Bill Irwin now down on the mat.
Well, now we know that Rod Price is injured. There's no question about that. But then we get to the question of should he be allowed at ringside? He cannot wrestle. What's he doing down there? He doesn't have a second's license, doesn't have a manager's license. What is that man's position at ringside?
Well, you know that interim Commissioner Matt Andrews will look into this particular situation.
As well he should.
The chop, the tag, and here comes hello. Bill Irwin says hello. Maybe a how do you do from gorgeous Gary Young. Now they'll bring in the Rattlesnake, who delivers the elbow right to the upper back of Sweet Daddy Falcone. Rake of the eyes. Sweet Daddy and the Rattlesnake go at it as Rod Price and Mr. Akbar look on. Belly to back suplex. Is the motive reversal there by the Rattlesnake. There you see the point of view of the coast-to-coast connection. Clothesline by Sweet Daddy Falcone, the prized pupil, I guess, of Mr. Akbar. Now into the ring. California kick.
Boy.
That crescent kick landed right on the Rattlesnake. And now, Rod Price fending off Wild Bill Irwin with that crutch. Ace photographer Jimmy Suzuki almost getting in the middle of that particular predicament. And in the middle of this predicament, John Tatum, watch out, the crutch comes in once again. And this time they caught him.
Oh, it's breaking down, Craig.
The California's not in. He takes the crutch, waylays gorgeous Gary Young.
I thought he couldn't wrestle.
Look at him jumping up and down. Watch out. Black Bart comes down with that branding iron. And crutch. Watch out that branding iron as Black Bart comes to the rescue. The coast-to-coast connection may be looking for a new flight now. Black Bart, the hero of this day, and we'll return to wrap it up after this. Johnson, Scott Hudson, along with the man who saved the day, Black Bart. If it wasn't for that branding iron.
Hey, Mr. Announcer, I got some sad news. I'll tell you what, Bill Irwin, the best dead-gum things are going to start happening around this stinking place, and I don't care how many dead-gum times I got to shove this where the sun don't shine.
Just a second. Wait a minute, Black Bart. I've seen that thing used many, many times, and I'm hoping what you're saying is it's going to be on our side from now on.
I'll put it to you like this. Wherever old Black Bart is needed the most, there's one dead gum thing that you can count on. I'll be there, and that you can't do a dead gum thing about.
You come on with us, then. We got places to take you, brother. Come on.
You're leaving with us.
Well, fans, Black Bart.
How would you like to be able to feeding into that?
This is all that's left of the injury of the California stud. I don't think we've seen the end of this one. For Scott Hudson, I'm Craig Johnson. See you next time in the GWF. This is the same object he had against Sean Tatum. Atomic drop. The foreign object flies. Count of 1, 2, 3, 4. The stranger. Waylaid from behind. Eddie Gilbert picks him up for a pile driver. Sends him down. Hot stuff.
What is Anthony doing?
He's putting the foreign object on the stranger's hand.
What in the world?
What's going on here?
Look at... Oh, no.
Gilbert was...
No. Gilbert is acting like the handsome stranger had slugged him with the foreign object, and he did no such thing. Oh, no.
Well, Gilbert getting up to make a... He ran into the official on purpose.
Oh, please.
The handsome stranger dazed. He goes to pick up hot stuff Eddie Gilbert. And James Beard has found the foreign object.
Oh, no.
The fans know that nothing happened. Eddie Gilbert claiming that something happened. If Gilbert was hit by a foreign object, what is he setting up for?
And Anthony explaining to the official how the handsome stranger slugged Eddie Gilbert with the foreign object when nothing of the sort happened.
Well, the belt's coming in. He's going to disqualify the stranger.
Oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has determined that by disqualification, the new GWF TV title champion